It's a Thanksgiving edition of Locked On NBA. You supply the turkey. Matt and Hayes are bringing the saucy nuggets and the hot takes, MVP ladders, teams that have what it takes to win it all, and teams that are just one drumstick away. And our favorite things of the week. Let's eat.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you're going to get started with $150 in bonus bets. If you win your first $5 bet, visit FanDuel.com to get started. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets, and your shot clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories with the help of Locked On's local experts. And with me are two of Locked On's premier national NBA experts from the Locked On Nuggets podcast and senior writer for the Action Network. We've got Matt Moore, and from the Locked On... again with a gobble. That's a double gobble. Well, Hayes, I won't ask you for a gobble again. You denied my gobble, and I will not be denied a second gobble. But we've got Hayes from the Locked On Bulls podcast. Now, typically, we would start this show kicking to a clip from one of our local Locked On experts, but we're a little short on game action to cover here. So instead, I thought we'd take a step back, evaluate some of what's happened so far in the season. Before we do that, though, we're going to talk about MVP ladder. We're going to put teams in categories. It's going to be a really fun show. I do have a question for both of you, if you've got any insight here. What kind of time frames do teams use to evaluate their roster? When front offices are looking at their season and they're thinking, okay, when is it time to pivot? When should we just go full steam ahead? What kind of time is it around this holiday period? Do they wait until Christmas? Matt, what do you think?
It's all based off of when the contracts become available for trade. Like that's always the marker, right? Is like you've got those December markers, you got the January markers, and then the deadline. And that's when teams really start to evaluate, because front offices are always going to want to give themselves time. You don't want to, no front office wants to be first. They don't want to rush in. They don't want to be early to these decisions. I don't necessarily agree with that approach, but for a lot of this, it's trying to prolong careers. So I get it. You don't want to make an impulsive decision. I do think that Thanksgiving is a good time to kind of evaluate, all right, where are we? Do we feel good about where we're at, or are there major changes needed? And if you feel like major changes are needed, you spend December and in the first part of January trying to make those changes, because if you haven't figured it out by January 15th, you're probably not going to this season. Sometimes teams can make a run after the deadline, but for the most part, you better know over the next 2 months, starting now, who you are. You better figure that out, because time is running out more quickly than you think.
Hayes, how long do the Bulls take to usually figure out who they are?
I mean, we're trying to figure it out for the last 3 years. So, I mean, a decade, I have no idea. I mean, the Chicago Bulls were generationally incompetent. So there's that part of it. So,
okay, we're going to talk teams in the next segment, but I want to talk about this MVP ladder. The race for MVP is on, and we've had some really major superstar performances and teams that have needed superstars to carry their team. So let's talk about the MVP ladder. Matt, why don't you go first? Reveal what your top 4 picks are in the MVP ladder. Then we'll go to Hayes, and then we'll talk about some of the differences. Matt.
All right, I've got number 1's Jokic, 2 is Giannis, 3 is Shai, and 4 is Tatum. Look, Luka, I think is going to be in this conversation by the end of the season, but he's not now for sure. Jokic, I just can't believe what he's doing. I just can't. He's 4th in overall points. He's 2nd in rebounds per game. He's 2nd in assists per game. There's just nobody who's doing more. Like there's nobody who's doing more, and they're winning games. And I don't know if he's gonna be able to keep this up. I say that every time. I'm like, surely he can't, and then he does. I think that the tough one for me is, like, I think Shai's got his best basketball ahead of him. But Giannis, it really has to be noted that despite the Bucks' early season struggles, Giannis has been individually unfreaking believable. He has been so great. And normally I would have Jason Tatum higher given the Celtics success and how good Tatum's been, but that's how good these other guys have been. So that's got to be my list for me. It's 1 Jokic, 2 Giannis, 3 Shai, and 4 Tatum.
I have the same players just in a different order. I got Jokic 1. Well, we both agree on Jokic being 1 for all the reasons Matt said. Shai 2, because Shai is so amazing at being able to do whatever you need him to do. And he's one of the reasons why I have faith that once Chet is back, that him and Isaiah Hartenstein are going to be able to work it out, because Shai is going to be able to adapt to make that work out the best. We've seen him as a facilitator. We've seen him as a scorer. We've seen him as a defender. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was my favorite coming into the season to win MVP. That probably plays a part into this as well. Next up, Tatum. This is probably the best we've seen Tatum yet. And I know with Porzingis coming back, he may have to adapt once again, but Jason Tatum has just been playing so good, so consistently this season offensively that I got him at number 3. And then number 4, Giannis. And I'm going to admit my bias. I hate the Milwaukee Bucks almost as much as I hate the Clippers. So that plays a little bit of part into it, but I can't deny the season that Giannis Antetokounmpo is having. He's having a great season.
We finally did it. We finally got to play our Clippy drop. Yeah, anytime Hayes hates on the Clippers, we've got a new drop for that. But if you're just listening to this, go check out the YouTube channel to see Clippy. Okay, I've got a couple of questions off of this. My first question is for Hayes. So Matt basically was OLI, outside looking in, Luka in this list once Luka gets back and gets healthy. Do you have an OLI as who's number 5 on your 4-player list here?
Kevin Durant.
Interesting.
Now we talked in the last episode that there's going to be an issue with running up against this games miss situation. Are you less worried about that now that it seems like the Suns were a little bit cautious bringing him back? They held him out maybe a few more games than they needed to. Are you a little bit more hopeful that he can play the rest of the way?
I mean, I still think he's going to have trouble hitting the games, the number of games needed. But I think if we're just making this ladder off the play, I got KD. Because of the play, I think he's going to be. I got him a little bit ahead of Luka.
Mine, the other guy I would throw on here is Donovan Mitchell.
That's a nice one.
Spida's only averaging 24 points per game and only 3.7 assists. He's been very much in the like, hey, everybody's playing great. Go get it, guys. Go get it. There will come a point in the season when it's like, oh, things are getting tough, and Donovan's going to say, perhaps I can be of assistance, and he'll step up. 47% from the field, 41% from 3 for Donovan Mitchell. I think his best basketball is also ahead of him. And with the Cavs already out to this hot lead, they're going to win 50 plus. We talked about it the last episode, maybe 60 plus games. If they get there, then Donovan Mitchell has to be in consideration for MVP.
So I'm looking at the FanDuel odds. They match Hayes' list. They've got Jokic, Shai, Tatum, Antetokounmpo. And then there's sort of 3 guys that are in the OLI for them: Anthony Edwards, Luka Doncic, and then Anthony Davis. And then there's a pretty wide gulf between Davis and Mitchell, Curry, Durant. They throw Brunson in there as well. And then Victor Wembanyama all the way down the list too. He's hanging around there, at least in my field of vision here. So one more question off of this. If a player not named Nikola Jokic wins the MVP, what has happened if that scenario takes place? And you can't say injury. You can't say Nikola Jokic gets injured. What happens if someone knocks him off? Matt.
The Nuggets only win 47 games, and the other teams all finish higher. If you look at the history of this award, it doesn't go to guys over 30. There's only been 2 winners over the age of 30 in the last 30 years. That's Kobe and Steve Nash. That's it. That's the only guys since Jordan in 98, actually. So the history says that it's not going to be Jokic because of the age, but he's defying expectations. If they only win 47 games, then historically it's come from a top 3 seed. It just has. Like all the guys that have won MVP, most of them have come from top 3 seeds. Now Jokic again won it when he wasn't a top 3 seed. But that's going to be the conversation here, I think, is if the Celtics win so many games, if they win 70 games, if Luka comes back and puts up Luka numbers and the Mavs win 55, there's still time for that to happen. If the Thunder rack up the number 1 seed in the Western Conference again, mind you, because he probably should have won it last year, and then Shai's numbers go up, it's just going to be really hard. Winning matters more than anything. So that to me is the easy answer here: is the Nuggets don't win enough games.
Yeah. 60 games. If any team wins 60 games, 60, 65 games, I think the MVP comes from that team. That could be the Cavs. It could be the Thunder. That's what I think.
Okay, well, I want to ask another question. Which superstar is superstarring the hardest this season? Who has had to carry the most load? We'll get to that coming up. Plus, we've got a fun game. We're going to put some teams in some categories based on which kind of Thanksgiving meal they most represent. Is it a full spread? Is it they burned the dinner rolls? We'll find out. And there's one particular disaster category that I'm going to save the reveal for coming up. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place, so when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. And I was just giving you some odds on the NBA MVP award, but if we're looking at the rookie ladder, it's Jared McCain continuing to TikTok dance his way up the rankings here. He is a -150, followed by Dalton Connect at +550, and Stephon Castle, who looks like he could be Wemby's Robin right now. He is +750. So make sure you visit FanDuel.com. You join today. You're going to get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Your favorite NBA team has a free and daily newsletter. Go to LockedOnDaily.com. Subscribe. Stay up to date with local expert analysis and amazing writing from Katie Heindel, Mike Shearer, and Locked On Fantasy Basketball tips from the great Josh Lloyd. Okay, a lot of superstars in that last discussion there for MVP, but which superstar has had to superstar the hardest? Who has had to carry their team through more as we head into Thanksgiving here, Hayes?
I think right now we have to say Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think he's had to do a lot of the heavy lifting there. I know that he's had Chet playing there at one point in time, but then he went down. Isaiah Hartenstein's went down. I think the level that the Thunder have been able to stay at with how they lack size at one point in time. Shai's, again, like one thing you're going to hear me say, I love the way that Shai always adapts his game to what's needed. And yes, he has a great system around him, but I still look at what Shai does, and I think it's amazing. And he is the engine that keeps that team going.
I appreciate Shai. I appreciate Hayes taking not the obvious answer here, like trying to generate some actual different conversation. It's Nikola Jokic. What are we doing? What are we doing? Look, the Thunder are 15
points. A lot on this show, man. I know.
I appreciate it, man. You're doing the Lord's work today out here on the holiday. Look, the Thunder are 15 points better per 100 possessions with Shai. That's a lot. Yeah, the Nuggets are 27.8 points better with Nikola Jokic on the floor. And here's the biggest thing is if we're actually taking this category, has the superstar the hardest? They are -18 per 100 possessions with Jokic on the bench. They don't get beat. They get wiped off the face of the earth. They have the planet destroyed. They get burned and razed from the very soil they stand on. Every second Jokic isn't on the floor. Every single time. And I am so tired of having the same conversations when I'm in the arena because it's, they are playing Jokic too much. They have got to get his minutes down. And then it becomes the 9-minute mark in the fourth quarter and the lead is evaporating and they're losing by 5 points every minute. And it's, why isn't Malone getting Jokic back in there? He has to play all these minutes. He is 4th in points per game. He was 2nd until the Knicks game. He's 1st in rebounds, 2nd in assists. Nobody has to do more. It's not just that Jokic is doing all this. It's that if he literally if he does any less, they are a sub 500 team. It's got to be Jokic.
It's tough to argue with all of that. Yeah, you got to throw Giannis in there a little bit. I mean, he had to score 59 just to...
Or they beat the Heat. They beat the Heat on Tuesday night without him.
That's true, but they were without Damian Lillard for a little while there, and Giannis carried them through some issues, and they're about to get Middleton back, but they've been missing him as well. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying you have to consider Giannis for superstaring very hard for the Bucks. And I'll say LaMelo Ball is not considered a superstar, but he has had to do a lot of work to even make the Charlotte Hornets competitive in the Eastern Conference.
Which superstar should maybe superstar a little less? That's the conversation we should have about LaMelo.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else they have. I don't know what else you want them to do at this point. Maybe when those guys get back, that'll be the real, when some of their injured players like Miles Bridges and Trey Mann get back, then I think you can have that conversation. Okay, let's move on to another conversation that we want to have here. We're going to move from players to teams, and it's Thanksgiving Day in the United States, and like the teams in our glorious game, the big meal comes in all shapes, sizes, and situations. I've got 4 categories of Thanksgiving plans, and I've asked Matt and Hayes to find teams that most represent those plans. So we've got the full spread, the smorgasbord. These are the teams that have everything they need to win a championship right now. The next category is burned the dinner rolls. These are teams that are 1 piece or 2 away. They accidentally burned the dinner rolls, but dinner is still on. Everybody's still coming over. Next is sushi takeout. This is teams that are still together. Everybody's playing together, having a good time, but they just don't have it this year. They just gave up and said, all right, sushi takeout night. And finally, we have Texas Roadhouse. The wheels have come completely off this meal, and it's time to bail and go order some apps and zerts at the Roadhouse. So the way I think we'll do this, we'll take these one at a time, full spread. Matt and Hayes each have a team. Matt, tell us your team for full spread.
It's the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, every part of the meal is delicious the whole way through. You got the rolls have got the honey glaze, so they look absolutely golden and perfect. Okay, the green bean casserole, completely crispy. It's not just mushy. It's like that perfect combination. That turkey is cooked to perfection. It's somehow like they didn't use the injector to get the seasoning on the inside. And they did the stuffing on the interior with the Thunder. Sam Presti has built the most complete roster in the NBA. He has built the most complete roster. The Boston Celtics are awesome. The defending champions should be the favorite, blah, 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 blah. I'll take this Thunder team, man. They can hit you with so many different players in so many different ways. They do not have weaknesses. You're not looking at Peyton Pritchard going like, is he really going to be able to survive in a playoff series? Gobble. Like, you're not doing that. You completely, absolutely trust every single guy that steps on the floor. They have managed this with the injury to Chet Holmgren, with Isaiah Hartenstein out to start the season. Everybody's playing well. They're going to win so many freaking awards. The coaching is great. Everything is awesome. The Thunder are amazing. Full spread.
I got for my full spread team the Boston Celtics. I mean, mainly I agree with everything Matt said about the Thunder, but I think I'm giving them a little bit of extra here because they did win the championship last year and they came out of this season firing on all cylinders, and that was without having Porzingis back. I think that this is a Boston Celtics team that has figured out how to do the things that they do really, really well to perfection, and and the defense still has another gear. I still think that they could take it to this year that they haven't quite had to go all the way to yet this year. I got the Boston Celtics here as a full spread team because I just think that they're just complete in everything that they need to be to repeat as champions right now.
Hayes, let me ask you. Okay, the meal tastes great, okay? Does it seem a little bit like they just got it from Whole Foods? Like they didn't actually cook this thing. It's not like actually like it doesn't have that home cooked flavor. They're just winning the math game, right? Like it's a little bit like they just picked up the dinner, slopped it into some bowls, and then reheated it. Because you're not actually like, oh man, like is the turkey the best turkey you've ever had? Is Jason Tatum the best turkey? No, probably not. Right?
I'll say it this way. It's this way. All the sides are amazing, and they could get by on a little bit of a drier turkey because they're in the Eastern Conference.
Sure.
A hot bar Thanksgiving. I love that idea because you can get the same food. You can get the same food from Whole Foods hot bar and make a Thanksgiving meal out of it, but it doesn't feel as special. And maybe they don't have that fire. I feel like they've got to do something to develop that at some point. Also, I'll keep the analogies going here with Chet Holmgren is that Thanksgiving dinner that is amazing, but some people bring too much and something has to go in the fridge and it's going to come out later and it's going to be amazing. We're going to forget about it. And then all of a sudden next day, it's like, oh my God, there's sweet potato casserole that we didn't even bring out. It's Chet Holmgren. Oh my God. So that's great. I love all of that. All right, let's move on to the next category, and it's burned the dinner rolls. So this is the dinner that didn't go fully awry, but somebody forgot to check on the rolls. They're in the oven a little too long. They're a piece or two away. Which team is a piece or two away, Hayes?
Magic. The Magic. And that's even if Paolo was healthy. I think that this team has all the makings of a team that can really be a championship contender here in the next few years. They're just missing a little something. And that could be the development of Franz going taking his game another step, Paolo taking his game another step, or it can be that they've been very mindful of their money as well. Maybe they sign a key free agent, not necessarily another star, but somebody who just helps this thing goes a little bit better than what they were expecting. They were hoping KCP was going to be that guy. He seemed to forget how to shoot this season, so he hasn't been that. But I think that the Magic are that mill that's just a piece or two away from being perfect.
I like Hayes' answer more than mine. I want to swap the dishes here and get his plate looks a little bit better than mine. I'll take the Memphis Grizzlies though. I think Memphis has a huge opportunity. I just think when you look at it, Ja, Jaren, Bane, is this team good enough to make a run to the Western Conference Finals? I think so. But if you told me they made a major deal at the deadline and packaged some of the young talent, one of the maybe, I don't really want them to do this, but maybe Desmond Bane, add a different guy as the third component or fourth component if they added another weapon. The problem here is the CBA and how it kind of restricts the ability to add those extra guys and what it does to your salary. But with so much cheap talent on the bench and so many young guys that they've got now popping, Gigi Jackson, Scottie Pippen Jr., Vince Williams, Jalen Wells has been great for them. Rookie Jalen Wells has been terrific for them. There's an opportunity, I think, here for Memphis to be able to cash in some chips, maybe Marcus Smart in particular, and add one more component that's going to change the dynamic. And all of a sudden, we're going to be looking at the Memphis Grizzlies and be like, wait, are they going to win the West?
The Orlando Magic, I just watched them play the Hornets, and they went absolutely cold the entire game. The Hornets they're playing better defensively, but not that good. And so, to me, the Orlando Magic are green bean casserole, because when they're hot and crispy, it's delicious. When it goes cold, something is fundamentally wrong. So I do agree with your Magic take for sure. Okay, coming up on the Locked On NBA podcast, we're going to continue this segment. We got Sushi Takeout and Texas Roadhouse. Which teams just don't have it this year, and which teams are a complete and utter disaster? We'll tell you coming up. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Skylights. Are you struggling to find the perfect gift this holiday season? Whether you're buying for someone who has everything or just looking to stay connected with loved ones far away, I've got the answer, and it's the Skylight frame. It's the ultimate touchscreen digital photo frame that everyone in your family will adore. I can attest. I bought one for my mother-in-law, scored me major mother-in-law points. She loves it. Setup is a breeze. It takes less than 60 seconds. Your mother-in-law can view all of the pictures of your kiddo that she can handle. You can invite friends and family to share photos instantly through the free Skylight mobile app or email, and it's so easy to upload new pictures straight from your phone, no matter where you are. Imagine sending that new family photo to grandparents across the country, and they see it in seconds. It's like you're right there with them. Did I mention mother-in-law brownie points? It's so key to family cohesion on this Thanksgiving holiday. The Skylight frame also looks stunning in your home with HD resolution and 5 different frame styles to fit any decor. You can even preload it with special photos as a surprise. It's perfect for gifting. And now, as a special limited time offer for our listeners, get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight frame when you go to skylightframe.com/NBA. That's skylightghtframe.com/NBA. Don't wait. Get $20 off today at skylightframe.com/NBA. Mother-in-law, you're welcome. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. There's a free daily Locked On podcast for your favorite NBA team. Just search your favorite podcast app for Locked On and your favorite team today. All right, we're going to continue this conversation. Full spread, sushi order in, Texas Roadhouse. Where's your team in this list? But very quickly, Matt Hayes, what's your Thanksgiving dinner secret weapon? What's the food that you know is just going to knock it out?
Oh, man, here's a secret. Get rid of turkey. Get rid of ham. Get rid of it. Cornish hens. It's half of the work and way better. So just go with Cornish hens. You can stuff them. They're way easy to do. I'm doing mine sous vide and then finishing in the oven this year. I do all the cooking in the house. Cornish hens are the absolute cheat code to Thanksgiving. Ditch the turkey.
Trade talk. You didn't think you were going to get trade talk on this Thanksgiving episode, but trade.
Plus, hopefully, plus minus. You know what? The plus minus on turkey. The more minutes you play them, the more your net rating goes down. No kidding.
Thanksgiving Vorps and Schmorps. I knew we were going to do it. It's got to be better than this Cat Randall trade, at least for Minnesota. Okay, Hayes, what's your Thanksgiving secret weapon?
My secret weapon is everything, for the most part, traditional, but what I always do is smoke a tri-tip on Thanksgiving.
Oh, nice.
Literally, it changes
Yes,
everything.
sir.
My secret weapon is the day after Thanksgiving and just using sweet potato casserole as a breakfast food. Put it on a biscuit. You can do it. Listen, it's just because it says potato in the name, doesn't matter. Just use it. It's sweet. It's delicious.
I do have like the key role player for you, which is make one dish that only you like that your family hates. Because I do this every year. There's a dessert that I love that my mom used to make. No one else in my family eats it. And I'm like, look what I made for you. Oh, you didn't eat it? Oh, it's too bad.
Dang
well, I don't want it to go to waste. So, and then you get all of
that.
That's how I am with banana pudding. Nobody else in the house likes banana pudding, but I make banana pudding every single year. And I don't have to worry about anybody else touching my banana pudding.
Hayes knows.
Now, see, this is the kind of intel that you're not going to get on any other NBA show. So stay tuned, folks. All right, let's continue this conversation, putting teams in categories based on what kind of Thanksgiving meal they would be. We're moving into the sushi takeout. Something has gone wrong. Just don't have it this year. Just got to call in the reinforcements. Sushi takeout. Who's your team, Matt?
It's plastic. It's fake. It's not good sushi. We're talking about sushi from one of the chain joints.
Sure.
It's like
grocery store sushi.
We really like this place. It's really good. No, it's not even like it's just a takeout. It's a chain sushi place, and they're getting Philadelphia rolls. It's the Los Angeles Lakers. Okay. LeBron came back because he just cares about LA so much and he believes it. No, he came back because of the money and he likes LA, and they were willing to draft Bronny and give him what he wanted, and he wants to be in LA. It's adorable. It's an adorable story, a tale as old as time. This team is just like they are not. This team isn't good enough, and every Lakers fan was like, "It was just Darvin Ham. That's all it was." I'm like, Darvin Ham took you to the Western Conference Finals. He must have done something right. No, it's just Darvin Ham. And look, I love JJ Redick. I love covering him as a player. I love his ideas as a podcaster. I think that some of the stuff he's done as a coach has been good. You can't fix this thing. You just can't. It's Austin Reeves. It's D'Lo. Rui Hachimura had a really good 18 months. That's faded. They don't have the depth. Dalton Connect had a really hot week, and it was like rookie of the year is over. How's that going? The Lakers are absolutely that team where it's just like, look, they're good. Okay, the offense is really good and the talent is there. They do not have it this year. They're not winning the title.
For mine, not that it's a negative. I don't look at this as a negative, but I have the Houston Rockets, not because something's necessarily gone wrong, but because I ordered a tempura roll and they forgot to put tempura on my sushi roll. That's the only thing. It's just undercooked a little. It just needs to be cook a little bit longer. It needs to be fried a little bit, and it's going to be perfect. I think the Houston Rockets are going to be great here in a couple of years. They just don't have it this year to really compete meaningfully, in my opinion.
I'm enjoying the idea of Hayes going to the sushi restaurant and be like, "You undercooked my sushi." I'm enjoying.
It's sort of the idea. Yeah, that's pretty funny. All right, let's move on to our final category. Forget sushi takeout. You need someone to just serve the meal to you, and it's not even going to be a Thanksgiving meal. You've bailed on this holiday entirely. You've gone to the Texas Roadhouse. You're looking for twice baked potato appetizer. Which team is a complete and utter disaster this season, Hayes?
The Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah.
The cornbread is burnt. The turkey's overcooked. The ham is dry. The mashed potatoes are runny for some reason. Everything has completely gone to hell with the Philadelphia. I said it before that they need Jesus. God isn't listening to the Philadelphia 76ers fans right now. It's over with. That's what it's done. It's a disaster there.
And no one showed up to the meal on time. Everybody's late. Matt, who's your disaster?
I want to read you some of the appetizers from Texas Roadhouse. Cactus Blossom, which is a bloomin' onion with Cajun sauce. Rattlesnake bites, which is jalapenos and cheese. Tater skins. Boneless buffalo wings. How dare you, Texas Roadhouse. And cheese fries, okay? These are all things that sound like a good idea, but then later on, when you are on the toilet crying, you're like, what did I do with my day? What choices did I make that led us here? And that is trading for DeMar DeRozan because it's the Sacramento Kings. This team has wildly underperformed. They're getting beat by bad teams at home. They're not able to compete with the good teams. The combination is not happening. De'Aaron Fox deserves better than this. Like, everyone was talking about Sabonis, but for me, it's Sabonis. That's my guy. The combination is not working here with DeMar DeRozan. I'm sure they'll figure stuff out and be within range of the play-in tournament, but some sort of miracle return to where they were 2 years ago when everything clicked is not happening. They need to go find a different way and just like ditch dinner and go somewhere else. And this is what they've done. They've wound up with the bloomin' onion with Cajun sauce.
I don't know if the deal will be done by the time this episode airs, because we're taping this a little early, but there are reports that Sacramento Kings, that they're targeting Jay Crowder. Will a little clam Crowder save this Thanksgiving meal? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Oh. Just came up with that off the dome. Okay, so that's a no clam Crowder. No, that's not gonna help. Okay, great. Let's move on to our. I got everyone's team right? Those were the disasters. Yes, we're done with the disasters. Okay, didn't want to forget anyone. Finally, our favorite thing of the week. This is the ongoing segment, usually on a Friday, but we're not going to be on Friday. So, Matt, your favorite thing of this past week?
Dillon Brooks being the best player on the floor in a massive win versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. Like, it's just really cool to see Dillon Brooks doing this for a guy that, I honestly was scapegoated a little bit in Memphis, and like Dillon made his own bed, to be sure there. But for him to have stepped up the way that he has and been such a big part of Houston is really cool to see. And like Dillon's chirping at the crowd the way that he does. And I'm sure he'll overextend this season and he'll come back and bite him and he'll F around and find out. But for right now, it's really cool to see Dillon, who really is a very good player and got overly maligned 2 seasons ago, stepping up like this for the Houston Rockets.
Hayes.
Mine is, you know what? I try not to talk about my team a lot on here, but mine is the fact that for Bulls fans, that they allowed a win over the Washington Wizards, the worst defense in the league, to restore their faith that the Chicago Bulls have a chance to make the playoffs. I'm happy for those. I think that's the best thing of the week because Bulls fans need hope. It'll all come crashing down sooner rather than later. It's all going to come. But for right now, the Bulls fans get to ride into the weekend after letting their confidence get high of beating the Washington. The 3 of us could score 25 points each on the Washington Wizards. But I'm glad everybody's having their excitement going into the Thanksgiving holiday with that. So there you go.
Hayes, the favorite thing of the week segment is a sacred space. It's a safe space. You can talk about your team. That's the only reason I took this job, was to talk about the Hornets a little bit more on a national show, as much as I'm legally allowed. Because who else is going to do it if I don't do it? So my favorite thing of the week is, no surprise here, LaMelo Ball giving Goga Bitadze a case of the spins on his way to a pull-up 3 that simply did not make sense. How he made the space, how he got to it, how he took the shot. It defied comprehension. It was like one of those art house community plays. I didn't understand anything that was happening, the themes, the symbolism, but at the end, I'm crying. I'm still wondering why someone was screaming while eating a plate of beans. I just don't understand this play at all, but it made me emotional, and it was my favorite thing of the week. My least favorite thing of the week was that Miami Heat NBA Cup court yellow. It burned my TV's HDR. I think it ruined my TV.
The yellows always look to me, and this is the same thing with the Nuggets one. It looks like they're honestly playing on the bottom of a bathroom floor, and that to me is not a very good look. I do have one more, if I can sneak in here, Doug. If you go to NBA.com/NBA cares, you're going to see a lot of the stuff that the NBA cares group do. Every team in the league does a lot for Thanksgiving, and it seems very run of the mill and very surface level. These teams and players are generating their time, but they are giving away meals to families that are in need, supplies. They do a lot for this holiday to try and help people that are in need. And it's one of the better things that the NBA does. NBA sports teams should be a force for good in the community. It's possible to make money and be a force for good at the same time. It's not a binary. And what the NBA does and these teams do to help out people during the holidays is really awesome.
Beautiful. We'll end it there. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA. We're thankful for you for supporting this show, and we're thankful to the Locked On Network for continuing to support local coverage of teams in an environment that isn't always super supportive. Locked On has been there the whole way. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen. Enjoy your weekend. Again, no show on Friday, but we are back on Monday with a lot to recap here on Locked On NBA.